Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, good, thanks. Welcome to our September meeting. I am Shane Sutherland, I am the board chair. I am not gonna go around and ask people to introduce one another, because the people online can't really do that. I think we'll just start, one moment, I'm gonna mention again a few housekeeping items before we get going. The first thing is that try not to, this is to everyone here, I've already told them, try not to speak unless you've been recognized on the floor. It makes you better audio recording. And, those that are board members, please stay around after the board, because we do have some more items to approve, some minutes and some other business like that. All right, let me look, what's our first? You want to start in, or do you want to do with the, I didn't see Heidi or.
I did see Officer
Is Officer Williamson?
Officer Murray is on.
Murray? All right, Officer Murray, would you like to do your report?
Yes, sir. Sorry about that. Had a day off. I had to burn today. Did my video come up? Yeah. Okay. As of now, crime is about normal, what we expected during the summertime. I don't know if my video is up or not, but I'll switch it around. I guess it doesn't want to show me either. There we go.
Oh, you had it. Go back to whatever you had before. There
Okay.
you go.
All right. Sorry about that. It's been a long day. I'm trying to get a lot of work done before I travel in the morning. But I can say nothing to report far as crime-wise, nothing out the ordinary, just a few community complaints. I'm gonna add my information in the chat. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, you can reach out to me. One thing we're working on right now, we're trying to do an event with what we call Faith in Blue, where we reach out to community churches to do fellowship and possibly serve a meal to that congregation. So if you know any churches that might be interested in doing that, feel free to reach out to me. Other than that, I have nothing at the moment.
Is there any questions? Does anyone online have any questions? You see any? No. All right, thank you, Officer Murphy.
Just so you know, chat is disabled, so I can't add my information in there.
Oh. I'll let you go ahead and see if you can figure it out.
Yeah,
If not,
it looks like it says chat's available.
we'll just,
Yeah.
we'll go on. Amy, you're gonna give us a brief report?
Yes, I can go into the community updates, but I do want to make sure that the people online can actually hear us. I don't know that we've gotten confirmation from the online
Yeah,
folks.
Yeah, Alex.
We're all good? Okay, great.
We
All
can
right,
hear.
just- Okay, thank you. All right, great. Well, let's get started with the home tour. Woo! Home tour is coming up. It is officially September today. Welcome to the month of September. It's the best month in my view. And on September 25th, we have our best event. Again, that's just my view, which is the home tour and street fair. And as of today, actually, September 1st, tickets are available online, and you can also go into, I think, Cake Crumbs and a couple other places to go buy tickets in person. Those tickets do go up in price on the day of the event. So you can buy home tour tickets on the day of, but they'll go up by $5. And my recollection is that they're $20 now. So you don't want to pay 25, then you should hurry up and get your tickets. And the other thing I'll mention is that if you are a Greater Park Hill community member, you get 20% off. Woo, yeah, all right, saving money. So be sure to check out the home tour and street fair. It's really, really fun. It's even just fun just to go check out all the different vendors and stuff. And one other pitch I'll give that is not part of the script. We still need some volunteers for the event too. We're in some need of volunteers. So if you want to give a couple hours of your weekend to hang out with cool people on a beautiful day, then please do go to the website. You can sign up online. It's really easy. There's all the time slots there, descriptions of the volunteering. It's great. Home tour and street fair coming at you. All right, next. We still have our free farm stand going on. That's on Mondays from 10 to 1, and that will go all the way through October, because just because it's September and we're starting to think about Halloween costumes maybe and pumpkins, stuff's still growing. So we have all kinds of beautiful fresh produce through a partnership that we have with various food banks, and also with farmers markets. Some of their produce that doesn't get sold is available to everybody. This isn't just based on need or anything. Anybody can come and get yourself some fresh, delicious, wonderful produce. The number one thing we care about is that the food gets eaten and doesn't get thrown away, if we can avoid that. So farm stand Mondays, 10 to 1, all the way through October. All right, speaking of food, we've got all kinds of other food programs too that I think most of y'all are familiar with. But one of those is, of course, our food bank, which is available to everyone, of course, and always in need of stuff at the food bank. It's extremely well stocked because of support from the community, but there's always demand for particular items, including fresh food like bread and milk, eggs, cheese. And then some current specifics that we need is fruit except applesauce. We must have gotten a big applesauce donation. Cereal, tuna, chicken, coffee, and ramen are all some needs that we have right now. So if you want to go shopping specifically for us, please do that. You can also donate directly to the food bank online if you care to do that instead. Next, we have a big meeting coming up next week, not hosted by us. This is hosted by the owners of the Park Hill Golf Course land. They are holding a meeting next week as part of the large development review process. So this is a community meeting, and it's a community information meeting. And the idea is that the community shows up and they get to just ask as many questions that they want of the owners of the property who are seeking to redevelop the golf course. And that starts at 5:30 and goes until 8. It's going to be at the clubhouse at the golf course, which is right there on the corner of Colorado and Birch, basically, Colorado and 35th. Most of y'all, I'm sure, are pretty familiar with that. 4141 East 35th Ave, if you're not familiar. I don't believe there's any kind of a virtual option. I think this is only in person. So if you care about that land, then be sure to show up to that meeting. That's next week, coming up quick. And of course, if you want to get more updates about what's going on in our wonderful community, be sure to join our email list. Probably most of the folks here in the room and virtually are on the email list, but if you're not, get on there, get informed. It's great. You get just one monthly email for the most part so it's not like you're getting a lot of junk, and you know what's going on in your neighborhood, including rezoning and different applications for that. So I like to read through those personally just to see what's going on. You know, I like to know what's going on in my neighborhood. Of course, we're also on Facebook. We have a strong presence there. So you can also check us out on Facebook. And unless there's anything from the floor, I believe that's it for the community updates.
Any questions?
Shane, just a comment. Follow up on Amy about the September 7th meeting.
Let's hold just for 1 second. Woody, would you mind approaching the microphone?
Oh, where is it? Where is it?
It's that little funny thing right there.
If you could wait until, we're gonna have open comments
Okay.
at the end of the community meeting before we go to this thing. That would probably be a better time for it. Next, I think our first guest is Councilwoman Annie Stevens.
Where would you like to have me?
You can anywhere near the microphone, so we can hear.
You're also on camera over there.
Can everyone hear me here? Is it okay?
I think so. Do you want to do,
Anyone online want to say something?
can you hear Candy all right with the? Is that better? Okay. You're like a teacher reading to the class.
Yeah, I hate talking at people. So if you don't know me, my name is Candy Saravaca. I currently represent District 9. I was elected for my first term in 2019. Prior to my life on council, I ran a youth development nonprofit in the Five Points Whittier neighborhood. That organization is 16 years old this year. It was born out of the shutdown at Manual. And that's where my advocacy really started. I was one of the students that got experimented on when we started experimenting with reform in Denver public schools. And so my entire high school experience was colored by experimentation perpetrated by the district. My first endeavor to organize community was to organize our community to file a lawsuit against DPS for the shutdown at Manual after the first 3 schools reform failed. And so that kind of set me on this trajectory to dive into policy. And so I went on, got my both of my degrees, my bachelor's and my master's, specialized in social work. And so I'm a trained social worker. That's what my career was. That's how I approached all the work that I did. I got to move out to DC for almost a decade where I did policy at the federal level. And I did policy compliance for the district there. And then I came back to Denver in 2014, did policy at the state level, decided that it was still too disconnected from community, was fortunate enough to go back to Project Voice and be as the executive director there. And it was my students who catalyzed my race for city council. My students were predominantly students in the Northeast area and the far Northeast area, and they were experiencing displacement at rapid rates, and it affected how they engaged in extracurricular activities. And so through a participatory action research project that they did, they identified gentrification and displacement as the biggest issues facing our city. And so we did all of the things that a textbook would tell you to do to organize and advocate for change in the communities. And we were not successful. And it was through that process that we recognized we needed representation that actually was going to listen to our communities, especially the most marginalized communities. And so we shopped around for somebody to run for city council for 2 years and couldn't convince anyone to do that because our district was probably the most challenging district to win. It encompasses all of the downtown area, all of the central business district and interests, and they had their candidate picked out. And so decided to run after the Inc. coffee scandal, and we won and did it with a quarter of the resources, and we did it primarily because of the very deep work we had done in community prior to deciding to run. And so that has really been, that experience in community prior to getting elected has been what has informed the way I approach my work on council. I approach my work still with the social worker lens. Do no harm, we take into consideration the margins and do our best to recenter marginalized voices in every conversation. We legislate not just by who has the most money to talk to us to convince us on what to legislate. We vote and legislate based on what our most marginalized populations are saying they need, because we believe that when we lift the bottom, we lift everybody up. And so what I've been working on council, I have a long list of things in different areas. And I imagine you guys have a lot of questions in a lot of different areas, but wanted to kind of give you a rundown of what we've worked on, because the media doesn't always give very nuanced explanations or details of what's happening in city council. And so some of the big things that we're working on or have worked on right now If you don't know it, mobile homes are illegal in Denver, and it is a form of housing that still exists. There are 4 parks left, and 2 of them are in my district, and so I've worked in partnership with Councilwoman Torres and Councilman Clark to legalize that zoning, to create a zone district for them. It's similar work to kind of what we did with tiny homes. And so kind of just building on that, to make it a housing option, given what we're experiencing. I was the council office, our office was the office that pressed for safe outdoor spaces, which are designated campsites. We know the status quo campsites are unacceptable for everybody, including the people living in them. And so the safe outdoor spaces were an attempt to have 24-hour monitoring, to have wraparound services present, and to actually articulate a pipeline toward housing. So along with that safe parking initiative, it is also illegal to or live in your car in Denver. And so we've been trying to find designated spaces where people can safely sleep in their cars if that's all that they have, so that they're not out on the street, and so that we can figure out ways to provide sanitation, get access to running water, and hopefully case manage them into housing. I was the office that led the right to counsel. So what that means is now in Denver, you kind of like you have a right to an attorney in a criminal case. You have, if you can't afford one, you have a right to an attorney in an eviction case. It has been 100% successful. Every single person represented by an attorney in our right to counsel has avoided having an eviction on their record. That doesn't mean they've always stayed in their homes. But the point is to avoid an eviction on your record, because once you have that, it's exponentially more difficult to ever rent again. And so we were able to pair the right to counsel with our rental assistance, so that we could make landlords whole and we could make renters whole. And full transparency, I'm a landlord and I rent to low-income families, and so understood both sides of that battle and wanted to make sure that we were addressing both sides of it. And we have had no complaints at all in that program. It's been going for a year now, and we're getting ready to ask for funding again for the coming year. A lot of our funding came from ARPA dollars and CARES Act dollars. So hopefully we can make a sustainable revenue stream. You all will be voting on a potential revenue stream called NEWR, no eviction without representation. That's what that is. It would create a revenue stream for us to provide that eviction counsel. We supported the rental registry as legislation goes. We didn't support all of the pieces of what we ended up with, but we supported having a database citywide of all of our rental units, because we do believe that's one of our biggest challenges to housing people. We don't know where rental units are. And so that's the part we supported. It passed. We're waiting to see that implemented. It hasn't been implemented yet, so we'll see how that goes. We also supported the new landmark and preservation ordinance updates. If you all missed that, I think it's particularly important for neighborhoods like Parkville because of the history of our Black community in Parkville. What we did was we created another category for cultural contributions or cultural relevance. So we're not just exclusively focused on famous architects or beautiful architecture. We're also trying to preserve things that mean something to communities that perhaps didn't have the resources to have the built form in what we are accustomed to when we preserve things. We had some small wins with budget amendments. I was able to get our funding for vouchers, motel vouchers increase in one of our budget sessions. And so that gave that option to more people so that we didn't have people on the street. It really helped us pre-COVID, because it happened pre-COVID. It helped us kick off our full motel program that we used during COVID. So it was a good launch pad for that. two things that I've been working on, that have not been implemented yet. We're kind of pushing against the administration on this, but it's called UDAP laws, unfair, deceptive, and predatory practices. And if you all have lived in the community for a while, like, you know, you're probably postcards, text messages, when you go about your house all the time. Well, that's particularly scary in neighborhoods where people don't know the real market value of their homes, or don't know what it's like to be buying outside of Denver right now or across Denver. And so we're trying to figure out how to address predatory practices like that. And so we're kind of modeling some legislation. It will probably not get passed under this mayor, but we're hoping that we get a mayor who wants to help us implement some kind of legislation to protect people from that. Some of our things that I collaborated with other folks on, I mentioned to you guys the mobile homes and the right to counsel, but we got STAR expanded through a collaboration in our budget amendments. I worked with Peach and Gilmore on a proposal to fund it through the city. Originally, STAR was not funded through the city, it was grant funded. And we were able to bring that into the city, more than triple its funding, and prove in 1 year of implementation that it was 100% successful. And so hopefully we'll scale that up again this year. My favorite ones that the favorite person that I team up with is Councilman Flynn. If you ever watch City Council, Councilman Flynn and I do not agree on most things. So when there's something that we agree on, it's kind of awesome. And we teamed up on an initiative that didn't pass. We were trying to get you guys to vote on eliminating our at-large seats. And that did not happen after redistricting. We had so many people asking us, why can't we just make more districts and do what we were trying to do with that large seats? And so there is a community desire and effort out there that might go forward to eliminate those at-large seats, but that was one that I liked teaming up on with him. And we also teamed up on one that was a little controversial, but it was very recent, the pay-as-you-throw. Neither of us thought it was the right time to implement that. And we were the only two on council who thought it was not the right time to implement that. And I don't think we have the ability, the capacity internally to implement it. So I imagine it might get bumped out. But yeah, me and him, we hardly ever team up. But those are some of the big ones. Councilwoman Sawyer and I, we teamed up on 2 ballot initiatives you all passed. One to allow council to confirm mayoral appointments over our chartered agencies, which are the main agencies, and to modernize city council meetings, which allows us to do this. Our charter didn't allow us to have virtual meetings legally, and so we had to change our charter to be able to do that. And so we came up on these 2 things. We've done other stuff on food and pollution and some specific Park Hill things that I've done. I was the person who tried to refer a ballot initiative to you all to protect the conservation easement on the golf course, and that failed. And I was able to partner with the community to run that as a citizen-led ballot initiative, and then it passed. So that's very specific to you all. But another thing that we do specific to Park Hill is our annual senior luncheon. A lot of people don't know about this because our districts have changed over time, but the senior luncheon was initiated by Hiawatha Davis. And when Hiawatha Davis sat in my seat, his district was basically the district I was fighting to create in this current redistricting, and it included Northeast Park Hill. And so the legacy of that senior breakfast was that we had a majority of participants who lived in Park Hill. So most of the seniors that we serve in that breakfast every year or connect with in that breakfast live outside my district. And we raise money every year to continue that legacy and plan to continue. And so those are our purposes. But want to open it up to you guys to ask questions about me, about what we're doing.
Are there any questions for the council?
Me,
Sandy?
at first.
I'll come a little bit closer so you guys can hear me. Thank you for coming, Candy, first and foremost, but recently you were at a CP meeting, and during that meeting, and forgive me that I don't totally remember what you spoke to us about. But you spoke to us about a specific program, I think it has to do with grants. Does that sound right? Would you speak to us about that particular
Yeah.
program? Thank you.
So, we've been trying really hard to push our climate and sustainability office in the direction of helping us figure out how to invest in neighborhoods or neighbors, trying to convert to native grasses, to conserve water. And we haven't pushed them far enough to think about individuals or investing in individuals through a grant program or incentive program. But we're at the place where we're trying to get them to at least do it for parcels like parks. And so there's a renovation happening at City Park. It's West Meadows, I believe. And we're trying to figure out, okay, we're doing these renovations, how can we do small replacement efforts to kind of launch the concept citywide so that we can get more people interested in doing that as we run out of water. It's going to be necessary, and Denverites, especially Parkillians, love their lawns. And so we want to figure out how do we maintain our lawns and also convert to something that's more sustainable.
Didn't the state legislature pass something just last session to expand those sorts of programs at state level?
At the state level, but we're sharing resources with the whole state, and by the time it gets down to us, it's pretty minimal. And so with the amount of land that the city owns just for parks, they're telling us that it's not doable, and we're saying, well, let's do something to like show it.
So it's minimal, like they did include funding, but it's just
Yeah.
Are there any questions on that?
nothing.
And go ahead.
Candy, it has been my great honor to experience your real love for Denver. And your real desire to actually listen and fulfill the needs that you're hearing from the community. And I'm really, this is sort of a big question, but I'd love to know your biggest wish for Denver moving forward, your vision, your like synthesized vision for where we should go.
I'll start with my biggest frustration. My biggest frustration is that a lot of our plans for everything we do are from election cycle to election cycle. I don't think we've taken a lot of time to be intentional about what is the city that we want, or at least the like core things about a city we want 100 years from now. How do we create that? Like, how do we start back mapping a pathway to getting to where we want to be? All of our bonds drive me nuts because we do these general obligation bonds that are piecemeal. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. There's 100 to 200 things in a bond that we're paying for. When we have really big needs like multimodal transportation, just bike lanes and sidewalks could be a whole bond themselves. Housing could be a whole bond itself. And so my vision is that we start taking a more intentional approach to the way we borrow money to building our city out, and taking one big bite at a time on the most essential things, rather than like, what do they say, like window treatments, like a lot of the stuff we do is it's inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. And I want us to think about what kind of stability do we want for people in this city? I don't want this to be a place that people just come for a couple of years and leave. I lived in DC for almost a decade, and it's a place where people come and go. Like, it's not a place where people stay. And I feel like Denver is very quickly becoming that. And I don't want to see that. I'm a 5th generation Denverite. I live in my great grandma's home. And I love that. I love that I know everybody on my block. I love that, you know, somebody's grandpa planted the tree in front of my house and I know that person. I want that for my children and my grandchildren. And I think that a lot of Denverites want that. And we just don't know how to achieve that. And so I want to figure out, how do we achieve that kind of stability for any Denverite who sees that in their future.
Any other questions? I have, I understand my question, because it kind of goes candy and right to what you said. I mean, my worry sometimes is city council, the whole city council, like government, is we see more concern sometimes about future residents than the current residents. The problem with that is usually that lands on people with the least resources the most, and it all comes from following money, where the money's coming from. And do you have anything to address that?
I think that's directly related to what I just said about us being a place where people, like, we're always so focused on outsiders, on attracting people here. We're never really focused on how do we keep people here. And so, like, attracting people, great. Like, I love when new people come, but I love it more when people stay. And so, like, focusing on attracting, great, but that can't be 100%, that can't be 50%, that can't be 70% of our focus. I think that's like 30% or less of our focus. And 70% at minimum needs to be focused on, how do we keep people here who want to be here?
Last question, Jared.
You talked a little bit about how you're financing your campaign, challenge, financing it in that manner, running against people who are not opting for that, have a little financial resources to run against you.
Yeah, so the crazy thing about the Fair Elections Fund, which is campaign finance reform member, for up to $50, every donation from a Denver resident will be matched up to $500. So $50 turns into $500. That was a citizen-led ballot initiative that I ran with a couple of my friends, my good friends, one of them also running for city council. We ran that before I even got elected, and it passed right before I decided to run for council. And this will be the first election season that we're trying it out. We're learning that there are some things that we should have done to protect it from being exploited. But we came in really optimistic, not expecting people to exploit it, and it's happening. But I ran against someone who raised 4 times what I raised in my last election. I'm running against the same person ×2 this time. One of them is my opponent's campaign manager. The other one is a big supporter. They will bring that same money to the race again. And so I expect Foley to be running against the same money interests that I ran against the first time. And those are your corporate interests. Those are the people who are chasing or attracting rather than trying to maintain. And so, you know, I need all the help I can get. In my last election, I had more individual donors than every other council member combined. And only second to the mayor and only slightly less than the mayor. And that is because of the way we approach the work. I literally had an unhoused person give me a bag of change to contribute to my. And it's because like, they know that we're gonna do the right thing, even when it's not popular. And I know a lot of you might only know me through news, through mainstream media. And you might be able to count 5 things, maybe 10 things on your hand that you've heard about me in media. Every single Monday night, we're voting on 60 to 100 things. In my tenure on council, we've voted on more than 3,000 things. And so as much as like the picture gets painted that I'm contrarian or all of that, I vote at minimum 85% of the time in alignment with my colleagues. And I've supported every single one of my colleagues' initiatives that were good, that were helpful to the people of our city. And you guys heard the long list of things that we collaborated on, and those are big, meaningful things. But I am the one person that has changed the culture of contracts on our city council. And that is, before I came to council, contracts were never blocked. There's 2 types of things that we vote on. One is contracts and one is legislation. The majority of the things we vote on are contracts. And not once had there ever been a blocked contract. Not once. Because once the mayor is sending it to you to sign, you're getting the check to sign. Typically, there are no questions asked. And we've been able, through community, to say, hey, those are taxpayer dollars. We don't actually want it spent on that. The biggest, most well-known one was the private prison contracts. Who even knew that we were spending taxpayer dollars in Denver on private prisons? Like, that was an eye-opening thing for me. And so we have changed the level of scrutiny on the way dollars are being spent. And I hear from both sides of the aisle, we're nonpartisan, but I hear from both sides of the aisle appreciation for the level of scrutiny that we have brought to the table when it comes to billions of dollars in many cases.
Well, thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming here and spending time with us.
Please let me know how to talk to my new neighbors if you guys have things coming up. I am not a good councilman yet, but I would love to.
Yes, that is true.
We got Brenda. There are the
That's the. Street, right?
Yeah.
Right, because our events in the old. But the new neighborhood.
Well,
Yeah, come to the home tour. Come on over.
Yes, I want to.
And the street.
And the street fair.
And can you tell us, those of us in the are running, to what extent we are allowed to campaign?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would think probably not so much, just because GPHC is a 501c3, and so we can't be seen to endorse any particular candidate.
Yeah, I'm not interested in
No, I mean-
banners. I am just there to learn what people want in the neighborhood.
Please, if you're volunteering, please don't. It's, the Red Park Hill is a nonprofit, we can't, as a nonprofit, Councilwoman will certainly understand this. We can't endorse or anything again without risking our campaign, without risking our investments.
I will say the thing I'm most excited about is that I can knock these doors. The part of my district that I lost in the districting was the central business district, which is largely unwalkable. And so I never could talk to those constituents about what they wanted, what they cared about. And I think there was a lot of barriers to knowing each other. And what I'm really grateful about is it's walkable alleys are a shady neighborhood. So I roast to death like I do when I walk my neighborhood.
All right, thank you again, Councilwoman. Again, keep down the crosstalk because that's really brutal on the audio. Try to because I wasn't here last month, and I actually tried to listen to the media, and it was very difficult. So, if you don't have the floor, please. People.
Shane?
Yeah.
Could I just, I want to make, have we gotten any chats through at all, Nam?
Yeah.
We have,
We did
okay.
figure it out. I don't know. I didn't do anything different than last time, but you can, from the chat, say who can participate.
Oh, okay, so
I
everybody's
didn't
able
do
to
that
chat.
last time.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because if that wasn't a function, you can always raise your hand. If you're online and you want to speak, I just didn't want anyone to feel like that they couldn't get a question in because they weren't able to chat, just because we're figuring it out here. So, okay, sorry, that's all for me.
Our next speaker is with UL Health, and I'm probably gonna say it wrong. It's Sharita.
You got it.
First time for anything.
All right.
It's Sharita Hadnal, and yes, I'm with the Be Well Health and Wellness Initiative of the Foundation for Sustainable Urban Communities, formerly the Stapleton Foundation. And so just want to make a couple of announcements. I didn't know it was going to be such a large crowd because I knew it was going to be hybrid. So I think I brought like 9 bags. So I'll make sure that I come back and distribute some right in there to get some more bags. So we're doing some COVID mitigation still yet. But I serve as the Be Well Block Captain Program Director for the foundation, been there for 10 years. If anybody is unfamiliar with where we are, which probably all of you are, we're right off 29th in Quebec in the same parking lot with the First Bank in the building connected to the cleaners. So my goal and my job is to train residents in our communities to be advocates for different systems and policy change, programs, projects. And so we work in Greater Park Hill, Northeast Park Hill, Montbello, Central Park, East Colfax, and Northwest Aurora. So myself and my colleague Ruben Medina, who serves as city councilman for City of Aurora, work on those endeavors. He focuses mostly on the Montbello and Northwest Aurora area, and then I have all the rest. So my great friend Jackie Shumway invited me because she's part of the Greater Park Hill Registered Neighborhood Organization to just kind of come and reacquaint myself. We used to come quite often prior to COVID and do announcements and make sure folks were familiar. So we have a Be Well Block Captain training coming up starting October 4th, which I put the information for that in the bags. It's a 4-week training that takes place every Tuesday and Thursday from 6 to 8:30. It'll happen at our offices over our 29th, this particular round. And the purpose of those trainings are really to sort of focus on the social determinants of health and how they impact us on a daily basis. So we really talk about transportation, housing, education, race and economics, a whole wealth of different things. And each particular night that we have those trainings are different presenters. So we really try to get folks in to speak about their different perspectives from their area of expertise, and then help folks to understand how to advocate in their communities. And it's all around what types of things may be there and what changes you want to see, what things you're seeing that you may not like so much, and want to know how to maybe advocate against. But nonetheless, it helps folks make good connections. It helps people further understand how these things are really impacting their lives, because some people know better than others, especially depending on the area of work. And so I myself, and like I said, my colleague Medina host those, but we have different presenters in. So we serve dinner at 5:30, even from 6 to 8:30. And so that's every Tuesday and Thursday, starting October 4th. I put a couple of other pieces of information in the bag for you all. One is just a little infographic on what is monkeypox. I know a lot of folks have been kind of hearing that popping up. If you're YouTube watcher like me, we talk about it all the time. But just want to start kind of making sure that community members have information and know where to just kind of go to start asking questions if that's something that's a concern to you. I know some people are more worried than others, and we just want to make sure that we're kind of staying on top of, since we're a public health organization, making sure folks do have that information, and like I said, know how to just kind of follow up if there are other questions. I also put it a little more information. One is in the bags, there is a self-COVID testing kit. And so I put some information in there on how to use your COVID testing kit, and there's an organization called HEAT that's in conjunction with Denver Health and Human Services, Denver Public Health now, I believe they're called. And so HEAT is just an opportunity for folks if they feel sick, if they have questions about being sick, and maybe they don't have health coverage, maybe don't have a primary physician, they can contact the HEAT line, and a physician will get back with them in regards to some of those questions if there's things that they have a concern on in terms of public health. But like I said, if they're feeling sick and have questions that they need answered and don't have a doctor. I also put some hand sanitizer in each bag, so just have a little flyer about, I love infographics, as you all can tell, about how to properly use hand sanitizer. As I did put a little bottle of the hand sanitizer in there, as well as a couple of masks and a couple of, I think that's all. I have a healthy living class coming up on September 17th. That's taking place from 10 to 2 over at the MLK Library, if you're all familiar, really easy to right off Colfax. In addition to my full-time work at the foundation, I've started my own nonprofit, where I now met a councilwoman, Candace DeBacca, years ago now. But it's Cherishing Life Youth Transformation Services, and so we focus on higher ed preparation, nutrition support, and life skills development for youth and young adults. And we just want to really have a conversation with young adults and families right now about virus mitigation, not only COVID, which we will be handing out these same supplies, but talking about monkeypox, the flu, which the season is we're coming upon, and just really how to use some simple basic methods to try to stay as healthy as possible. And so we'll be having that conversation, we'll be serving lunch and giving out some additional resources, hand washing, soap, body soap, clothes soap, just some of those things, especially thinking about some of our families in transitional and motel housing and the difficulty with obtaining some of those items when you're sort of day-to-day. So we want to make sure that our families have access to some of those items. I already spoke to you all about the Be Well Block Captain training. And last but not least, I'm going to plug myself on one other thing I do because I don't do enough. Good girl. Oh, and I'm sorry, one thing before I get to this last thing, I did want to mention, because I heard someone talking to Councilwoman, and I'm sorry, I overheard that you all are having a special community event coming up, I believe that's taking place October 9th over at Axon Park. And Jackie and I spoke in detail about what that looks like and just what your hopes are in terms of bringing the communities together and sort of, you know, trying to figure out this whole separation because of breaking up of districts and just really wanting to reconnect with community. With my work through the Be Well Block Captain program, we offer mini grants to each of our neighborhoods that help support the work of our block captains and our community members. And so Jackie has submitted a mini grant on behalf of that particular program. And so my colleagues and I are reviewing that. But it's really just more so to understand what the work is about, who's all going to be impacted. It's not about, you know, great writing or anything like that. So look to hear back from us probably in the next couple of weeks. But that's up to $2,000, and it's going to definitely be done. And so we want to make sure that we're able to support those projects and programs. And it's been a while since we've been able to get some stuff done in the Park Hill area, so really excited. And I kept telling Jackie, please apply. We really need some stuff done in Park Hill. She came out. Yes, so we'll definitely be supporting that particular effort, and really appreciate you all for just kind of thinking forward about how do we continue to bring our communities together, because I know there's been a lot of just struggle and rifts, and so again, just want to say appreciate that, and we'll definitely be back with you all to make sure that we get that support prior to the 9th. And so then, now last but not least, I am a business owner in the area. I'm a Colorado native, but I don't live, actually, I live in the Central Park area now, but grew up in Aurora and now have a business here in Denver, in addition to the nonprofit, which is Collar Candy Pet Supply Boutique. It's right around the corner next to the Rizzo's. And we specialize in dog and cat supplies, collars, leashes, bedding, shampoo, all of those great things. And we just put an ad in the Park Hill News, so when all of those great stats going out, we're in there. And I put the flyer in the bag as well, and so would love for you all to come and check out the store, spread the word. We started over there last April, and prior to that, I spent a year over at the Santa Fe Arts District, in the sort of downtown area, and so I was in an incubator space and then blossomed out on my own, and so we just signed our second lease here in April, and just looking forward to staying around, and so would love for you all to come and patronize the business and share that information with others. So I know that there's gonna be room for questions later on, but I'll say now, if there is someone.
Yeah, so Sheree, I'm Tracy McDermott. I oversee the medical research department at Anschutz for.
Yes, I remember you.
And I would like to talk to you maybe a little bit more,
Okay.
offline, but we're embarking on a pretty big demographic project of maybe the last 10, 15 years of our demographics and enrollment. We suspect we know what it is, and we want to be able to do outreach why it's important all people participate in research. And I would just want to talk to you later about when we get that data, what we can do next.
Yes.
About community outreach.
I'm working, one of our block captains that just recently took our last training is Cheryl Harrington, who is also on the campus and has done a lot to just sort of help me get more involved. We'll be on the campus September 14th for the block party.
Yeah.
But yes,
Okay,
that's tough.
I'll let you know.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sandy has a question.
Yeah, I have a question. Will you talk to us about the veracity of the expiration dates on the COVID test?
Yeah, so from what I understand, and literally just printing out some information this evening, they said that the expiration date had been expanded. And so what I was told was, although some of the tests, I think, might have had like a June expiration, that they were good until the end of the year. And this is what I'll say about that, is because everything is ever changing, the same with the monkeypox information, because the more they learn and things are updated, is continue to go online and check. Literally, when I just printed off this information this evening, and I apologize that I can't exactly picture the date that it's stated it's going to now in my head. I literally specifically just saw some print from the CDC in regards to the expansion of the dates on the COVID tests. And so what I would say is keeping an eye out, because things change. What I will say is, if you're getting any type of tests that are home tests, is be careful about keeping them in the heat regardless of the date, because that will destroy them. But yes, I apologize that I can't give you a specific on that, but I know they literally just posted something on the website. So if you get one that has a certain date, look online and make sure that it coincides with what they're stating is still relevant in terms of how long you can use it for. Because I know they keep kind of reposting stuff. And so as much as we try to stay up on it, it's kind of always changing. So I just check typically when I print for our bags. If there's something that's really prevalent, I will stick it on the boxes, which I believe there's information on these, and I have, like I said, how to use your home COVID test flyers in there as well.
Okay, any other questions? No, is there any more?
Someone was asking for links to the agenda, and I posted that, but.
Should I actually, could I ask, I want to just handle it, this is how I'm involved, was the people block cat stuff, okay, you know, for years, including Martin Luther King Ray stuff, this lady's our coach. Anyway,
I am
so,
coaches.
it's crazy position. Okay, so, anyway, what I would say is this people block cat. It's a thing where she's looking, I mean, explain this, it's like when you're looking for people that would go around the block.
Sure, yeah, so it's kind of similar to having, as Jackie explained, block workers that are distributing, right, the paper and kind of making sure they're going door to door and meeting neighbors. With the block captain program, the idea that is that you have one, at a minimum, one resident on each block, on every block in the neighborhood, right, to really be the eyes and the ears, the know-how, the know-what in the community, sort of what public mitigations are about, what types of things are changing. So as Councilwoman spoke about in terms of, when city ordinances are changing or being just sort of in the understanding of what's coming new. folks, we want folks that are actually engaged and understand, like, what does that mean? How is that gonna impact your health? How is that gonna impact your economics? And so the Be Well Block Captain Program is really about having a trained set of advocates in each of those neighborhoods that can really speak to some of those relevant topics and issues within a community. And have an understanding, like I said, who to connect with. So if it's your city council people, if you're talking about something at the local level, if you're talking about something at the state level or federal, we have my colleague Sam Valeri Arnold, who is our policy manager, and he really tracks policy around health, but it encompasses a lot of different areas. We have a collaborative where we invite in several different folks from different backgrounds that come together and talk about issues and make sure they're sharing relevant information with us. And so the block captains really make sure that people have information, which is why we're trying to make sure we reconnect after COVID to get folks back activated. It's about making sure that you used to literally go door to door and give out flyers, give out information. And so we just want to make sure that people actually know who to contact when things happen. They know when, there's something coming up and they want to understand, how would I go about putting a bill together? If they know who they can contact to help craft that language. We do a Be Well Day at the Capitol every year, so folks get more familiar with what is the Capitol about? How does this all work? How do I get more familiar? Get a better understanding, because a lot of people maybe haven't done it since they were in high school, right? So we just really want to make sure folks are connected to the information that they need and want to know, and they know how to use that in the most useful way to help better the quality of all of our lives. And so that's really the point of the Block Captain Program. We train and use that as a springboard for folks to go back into their communities and teach others. And so that's really the goal of the program. Oh, I'm sorry. Look, I'm taking over his job, Candy.
Two questions. Do the block captains also focus on social determinants of health?
Yeah, so that's the focus of the training, is we go through the social determinants of health. We talk about what health equity is, and then how does that interwoven into all these different things, and then sort of governed and guided by policy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Two, how do I train your block captains on local government welfare?
Let me get you with Sam, again, Sam Valeriano, who's our policy manager. He actually works and focuses on the specific policy block that we do. And so we do have we actually have a policy group that convenes once a month that he's with. And so I would love for you to work with him a little bit more and helping that to come to fruition. We can make that happen.
That would be awesome. And it reminds me of something I forgot to plug here. We have, and I don't say it, everyone else does, we have the best newsletter in all of council, and we, yeah, and we do newsletters that have action steps for folks. So if anybody's interested in getting our newsletter, please let me know. But also, it's a good resource for your block captains, because we break down like what's happening, how to engage, and we do workshops on like the senior property tax rebate, or we're going to do a workshop on the college loan forgiveness once the applications are available. So those are the kinds of things that I would say.
Appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
That was my question. Do you have a newsletter?
We do have a newsletter.
Could you post it in the chat?
Yeah, so
that we can access it?
absolutely. So you can actually go on we have a website. It is bewellconnect.net. Just as I said, bewellconnect.net. And so our policy manager, Sam, is actually the one who's responsible for putting that together. He sends that out once a month. So we can also make sure that you are a part of our email list. And if you don't mind, maybe you can make that happen in terms of making sure that we get a copy of folks' emails and who that are interested. And being part of our email list is I want it to be a voluntary thing, and we're not just
Anyone that wants to put it.
yeah, make sure we get it, and we can make sure that we email it to you, but definitely can go to our website if you're interested in that.
Be Well Connect.
Yes, ma'am, bewellconnect.net. And yeah, and then and my email address, my phone number is on the flyers in the bag. So if you all have more questions about the program, you're more than welcome to contact me anytime. Again, we're at 29th in Quebec. I'm in the office every day again now, so more than happy to talk with any of you all. Ms. Tracy, love to make sure we get together and
Yeah.
speak more about how to get the data out there and make sure it's being used.
Yeah, I'm sure is your email on the website?
It is,
Okay.
yeah, it's shanal@fsucommunities.org, but and like I said, and I have done the flyers. And take them until they're gone. I will make sure you all get more COVID mitigation resources if that's something that you need. Like I said, I'm just right around this way. The store is open Friday through Sunday, so I'll be there tomorrow. Thank you.
And that finishes our presenters today. I'm gonna open the floor for the community portion for open comments. Woody, you had something you want to say earlier?
Yeah, very quickly, I just want to encourage everybody to attend this September 7th meeting with the Barco Golf Course that Amy talked about. I just want to make it clear, I downloaded today the guidelines from the Community Planning and Development Department to govern that meeting. So it's what a developer West Side is supposed to do. Feel that they should go and actively participate, ask questions and make comments. And this is what it says, in the whole heading, it says, these are the duties of West Side. It says listening and responding to community input. It says the public will ask questions of you at the community information. This is expected and encouraged. For many neighbors, simply being able to ask questions and receive answers directly from the development team can have a long-term positive impact on the project's relationship with its neighbors. Every project applicant should be available and willing to answer questions about the development proposal and should have a mechanism for considering feedback received during the meeting. So this is a mandated part of this meeting. So first of all, go, and secondly, if you go, feel very free to participate actively, express your views one way or the other. But please go.
Okay, any other community issues?
I would just build on, what you mentioned. If you have questions afterwards that the developer can't answer, like, how does affordable housing work? What are the AMI graphics? Like, what does that mean? We're happy to also answer those questions or workshops if that is like a big issue, because most people in the city don't understand what affordable housing means and how there's a whole spectrum of affordability and how it changes when you densify with market rate payers. And so we're happy to like put on any kind of workshops if that becomes an issue that people want to.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, that closes the community part of the thing. Those people that are not board members can leave if they want to. You're welcome to stay if you want to. It's a secret. It's nothing in secret. You're welcome to stay if you want.
We stopped at that last time. That's right.
Let's see if some people are leaving, let's give them a few minutes to.
I love you, girl. Talk to you.
Okay, we're the board meeting. Before we get to the amendment approvals, Maria wanted to present something.
Randy, you want to come up here with me? No, she doesn't. Okay. All right, well, I'll just stand where?
You can stand anywhere.
Stand here.
I think the podium is best because
stand at
then
the podium.
you're in the camera.
I sent an email around to the board explaining this October 9th Axon Park Greater Park Hill Fall Festival earlier in the week. October 9th, 2 to 5 p.m. We've got our, the purpose is to reach out to North and Northeast Park Hill with a fun, free event that hopefully will unite our community. We have a very simple, what turns out to be an $850 budget. It's gonna be hot dogs, chips, a cookie, a drink, And then we're gonna have, we have sponsors for face painting, and we have a sponsor for a bubble machine. And Jackie's gonna bring hula hoops, and hopefully we'll have some other kids' games. We will have, our event will be centered in the part of Axon Park that's right around the playground. There's a pavilion there, there's a grill, and we're gonna have,
Basketball. Yeah.
there's basketball courts there. We will have a table where I'm hoping we can have some information about the Greater Park Hill food programs and about Greater Park Hill. Maybe sign up some members, hopefully sign up some block workers. Because we're finding that we have huge gaps in our block workers to deliver our newspaper. And Brenda's been working very hard to close that, to get her arms around it and then figure it out and to get block workers. So that's what it's about. We also have some schwab that Lana put together for us. We have some nice bags. We've got some really weird hats. They're really big weird hats, but they'll be free. And then we've got some stickers and some little books about Park Hill. So I had sent out a budget. Since I sent out the budget, I was informed that we will need to rent a porta potty. And that's a cost of $250 by the time they get it delivered and picked up and so forth. So it's an $850 budget subject to this board's approval. Let's see, we're asking the board, first of all, to approve the $850 budget subject to.
Well, and it's.
Subject to, let me finish my spiel, Jackie, and then you can talk about the big reveal tonight with the potential grant money from BMO. You heard what the woman said, so I was a surprise to me. And Jackie and I have talked about this, but right now we're asking the board to approve the $850 budget to attend our fall festival on the 9th of October. Bring some lawn games, come and have a hot dog. And sponsor the event if you can with some sort of a personal financial contribution, because we're trying to get this to be on a sustaining basis and not a draw on a Greater Park Hill budget, which, you know, has to be spread so far. So let me know, or Brenda know, if you're willing to make a contribution toward this event. And Leslie has a question, but then we need to hear from Jackie about the mini grant, because what we talked about is if we get this grant from Be Well, we're gonna up the food and we're gonna chip away at that $850 budget.
So Maria, so the idea of making this be an annual event.
We hope.
Okay, so just a plea to the board, if you can help contribute to this, please, if we're able to use the grant, because it'd be nice to roll this over into a restricted fund like the 4th of July, to be able to carry this event going forward. And then it pays for itself. Okay.
That is the goal, and
I'll stir it up, I'll contribute $100.
yay, let's have a.
Come on, y'all just got $750. Come on. Do some good with it. Do some good with it.
Yeah, well, anybody else?
Well, so my question was, and I would love to be one of the contributors as well. Can I contribute as a campaign, or do I need to contribute as an individual?
I have no idea. Doesn't matter. Our expert says it doesn't matter. All right, so we'll put you down
We
for.
just can't take
for $100.
We just can't advertise you. Please vote for Leslie at the event.
Understood. Okay, that's clear as a bell.
Can we have a sign that says sponsors?
Can I
Yes.
just walk around with my
Yes.
Leslie
Yes.
t-shirt?
I mean, we
and
would like to do that, or.
Okay.
Let's
I would
try
love that.
to keep the.
Yeah, we can-
We're getting a little bit too much crosstalk, and that, trust me, it doesn't come as much.
My campaign will also give $100.
Here we go.
Hey, there we go. Hey, get Candy back in here.
Do you want to say who you are?
Hi, I'm Tyler Drum, I'm running for city council district 8. Hi.
Welcome.
We'll take it. All right.
So Marty,
Yeah.
so since my eyes go to the budget, and we've been in a pandemic budget, we're not out of the pandemic. Another HPU's just been declared as a monkeypox. We've also had some huge hits to the
expense in GPHC, one of those being the roof. And we'll get to that in a second. So what I wanted to say is that through the years, and I'm talking years, I'm talking 10, 15, ever since I've been involved. So we have been great stewards of being fiduciary responsible. And the reason why I'm laying this all out is because back in 2010, when I was board chair, we were 3 months, $30,000 away from closing. And so through that, I would say sometimes not popular decisions, efforts moving forward, we have been able to really turn and navigate GPHC to be positioned where we are today, to afford to put on a roof $100,000 and I won't say a drop of a hat, but that's been through the years and years and years of hard work, tough decisions being made regarding, do we go here, where do we pull back, how do we cut, how do we build, and also we've also had a $4,000 or $5,000 recent charge to the building because of the flooding. So the recent flooding, I don't know if you all were aware of this, we had a very quick decision that needed to be made. And so right there chips away at $100,000 from our bank. I will come back and say, because we have it doesn't mean that's the piece. The other piece is kind of tagging on to what Tracy said was, if we do want to make this an annual event, which I have been, and I will always be a proponent of bridges. I don't care if it's North Park Hill, South Park Hill, East Park Hill, West Park Hill, Central Park Hill. I don't care, just Park Hill, it's Greater Park Hill. So building those bridges and those ties, I applaud the efforts in what is going forward, and making a hard drive from the block worker, right, the block committee, really trying to drum up business based off of relationships we do. And so through all of this, through this very long-winded piece, I want to know what is it that is being asked of GPHC, because we have provided, Shane, correct me on this, $135 already donation to the permit, is that correct?
I can outline what the breakdown, I sent the budget out.
No, I saw it, but,
Okay.
but also just, and just with this other stuff going on, it feels like I'm in an auction with other people. Because I want to be aware of what is being asked of GPHC, specific dollar. And my math isn't great right now, but it's a huge ask in addition to what GPHC has provided with the permit, and then also looking forward and hearing what are plans to make it a wash in, wash out. Yeah. So as you said, it would be a great expense.
So a wash in, wash out event is something that is no cost to GPHC. It's supported by a grant, donations and so forth. Well, let me answer your first question, which is what we're asking. It was $850 because that's the budget. It includes the permit, $300 for the porta potties are $250. I tried to get us out from under that.
So is that $850 plus $250?
No, $850 total.
Okay.
That includes everything, minus the $300 that we had in pledges tonight. We also have $630 worth of sponsorships for the face painting and for the bubble machine. So what we're asking is for the board to approve up to $550, with the understanding that if the Be Well grant money comes through, that goes down, presumably they would kick in that kind of money and we would be done. We would be, whatever you call it.
Yeah, so let me kind of explain to you what I did with this, because Sharita actually came to me, we were talking, one of my many discussions with her. Shop, we've been friends for years, right? About the 5 things, this is how this all started. And she was so excited, she was reading it, she was talking about something, she came back to me and said, no, what you guys are trying to do with this get block workers, /thing, that is exactly the kind of social terms help. It's literally they're physically walking into a and she said, and I said, oh yeah, we're two like minds. So she said, remember, I have a $2,000 grant up to $2,000. I gave them 20, okay, which included 3 follow-up things for like, I was literally, this was including paying for face painting and the bubble. I literally did this so that if we want to do something more, make it fancy, we feel like it's late. But the nice part is the federal budget is, I do think there's this thing. I don't know if we can get that grant again next year. Does that make sense? Maybe, but maybe it's another place. But either way, this year I talked to her, and I don't know if you heard her say that she can't say absolutely sure. She literally said to me, this is covering everything we want. I gave her every idea of exactly how we cover it with block workers, which is people who potentially also could be well candidates. You know, so she said, I said, would you mind having a table there? You start training the week before. I think we end up, guys, it would be so good. I think the chances of her not doing it are literally, I think it's almost impossible. So I think we're going to have, I asked for 2,600, but that included our follow-up of doing like block workers, stuff that you guys have talked about. I was trying to synthesize everything you guys told me. I looked at it and I thought, this is just remember, a budget doesn't mean you're stuck in having to spend that. Literally, we can do what we want. And I mentioned to you guys brought this up with Brenda and about them BIPOC businesses. Okay, we've got a couple of them that I've gone to, and we part of the thing would go up in cost if we did this. The way to keep it down is to kind of go to Sam's or Costco or whatever and spend the least possible, which is part of it. But there are local Black businesses that have maybe just making a combination where some of it is more for like kids who want something. Some people are also supporting some of our local businesses and have them and pay them your company. The 2 that you guys came up with is Gold Star and then Catfish and Grits. And they've got some, and not that we do all of it, but we literally have them to help us out. So that might be a little more.
Jackie, let me ask you a question. If we get the grant money from BeWell, can it be carried over into next year's event?
As long as we use that, what I would say is if you make this like the standalone, we would also tie into the block worker tech recruitment. That would be a big thing that I think we can continue to do. I wrote it that way. Do you see what I'm saying? And I maybe, and by the way, that was the part, I'm going to go to another grant that as well. That's exactly what we're thinking. But I think we need to, honestly, I think we're okay money wise on this. Okay? But it's got to be the block worker.
Let's send the other question. And then I got.
Actually, it's not actually a question. Shanta had a question in the comments, and I want to make sure that
I addressed it.
Oh, was it directed at us? Can we know what it was? Or?
I mean, it was just, she didn't hear very well, so she was
Okay.
asking what was
Okay, I just want to make sure.
what was the exact,
Okay.
she said, what was the exact number, and I said.
So,
Yeah.
and then that was one of my follow-up, is that you need to tell us, like Heather said, exactly what you want, so somebody can make a motion, and we can make a decision on this. And is it 550 or 850, which is set of both?
I would say, let's say 850 and those pledges out there.
It was 250, not 200. That's the difference in the budget.
The porta potty, I estimated at 200 based on some incorrect information.
But it's actually
It's 250.
So it's 850 is.
850 is all inclusive. Now, I guess what I do is make a motion asking for approval of it.
Hold on, that means, I want you to be clear on that first. I also want to make this point too. I know this is a big ask, and what Heather said is she tried on this, we've had some really big hits. And for those that don't know it, on the August 7th, we flooded back here. We had to spend some emergency funds, about 4,500 in the emergency funds to get that fixed. Is it affected the pantry? We can't have a pantry. We didn't have an option. I'm also going to say that part of the reason we're in this position is because of Tracy and Vern dead. They had given this ability to do this. That being said, I tend to support this. I'm just telling you what I do. And the reason is one of the reasons is that early in the year, we helped the marshal. So it's closer to home. Let's do something at home. Charity starts at home. And this isn't the thing, but I also agree with Tracy and saying we need to make sure this is self-sustainable. This cannot be a drag on us. We've been spending a little too much this year. We need to do it. And I just want to say all that. I had that on me to say it before we go. I think this is a good project, but I think we have to keep our eye on the wall.
Can I make, I think what our motion should actually be is.
I don't know we're done with discussion, Jack.
This discussion's on.
Yeah, still discussion.
So what I would, say going forward is the idea of, if this is carried forward, then we need to make sure that it's in the budget, because that's my piece that I'm looking at right now. We have $0, and I've tried to look at other areas to find and to pick out any monies that cross over, et cetera, and Shane alluded to. Pretty significant chunk taken out of. So that's what I would say and recommend going forward. That way you can be an itemized line on the budget. You can get it in there, no questions.
And I know Betty can go ahead and.
Great.
So,
Yeah, I have two comments, and first, I'll be the nasty person, really. But I find it kind of disturbing that we're having so much conversation about this. And yet, when we made the matching donation to the Marshall Fire, there was nowhere near this much discussion. And we're talking about our neighbors. So I find, number one, that pretty disturbing. But also, what I would like to suggest, and we can totally take this offline, but if we are having such financial concerns and there's so many questions, I think we as a board need to know exactly, not just, okay, you guys know we just have a flood here or a flood there. Perhaps we should have a board retreat or other kind of a board situation where you guys can discuss and be a little more transparent with us with what's happening with this budget that we have such little money.
we're very transparent.
Did you guys receive this?
And we certainly voted on the last major expense.
You didn't vote on the flood, is that?
No, but the roof was a board
The
vote.
roof, everyone on the roof.
That's fine, but I am saying I find it extremely disappointing that we did not have this kind of discussion about Marshall.
I think what I would say is, if we were in a management position back when Marshall Fire, and we suggest that these things that come Marshall Fire. I think it's just what they're trying to say is we have major expenses. I don't think this is about it. I mean, right now, if over the Marshall Fire, if somebody brought that up, we'd be saying the same thing. It's just that we had some money back. We were okay. We didn't know we were
still have one.
Well, yeah, we're not broke, but we're just being careful.
Look, I think Heather's doing her fiduciary responsibility to bring this attention to the board. Period. It has been my concern as I sat on this Black Worker Committee. You've heard it from me, Maria. We've got to be conscious of money, and nobody's saying don't do the event. We're all supportive of the event. We just have to become aware. That's what this discussion is about. And thank you, Heather, for bringing it to everybody's attention.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Finally, I say, we're already donating to sponsors and stuff. But what I'm saying is, I think a better thing right now is really, I don't think we're going to have to worry about this for one thing. I think it's good that we're talking about it. I don't think it's going to be a problem. But how about we do this instead? Are there enough people to cover that 850? I would, I'd give another 100. I'm not rich, but I told you I got $750 from the government from the state.
Jack, I asked Mari and Shane to do an ask to the board for small donations to help with this, and I think it's a good thing to be. So it's not, it doesn't mean if we don't hit 850, this thing's not gonna get, it's an ask. It's like, hey, he will help out. Let's make it what Mari has been working on.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
We'll give us the.
I think now's the time for motion or something.
That's what I was going to say. I'm going to tell you about Robert's Rule of Order of Rights. What you do is you make a motion, like Maria says, this is exactly what I'm asking for. You hear a second and then you discuss it and you either alter the
That's
motion
true.
or not.
That's true.
What can happen is this discussion without anybody knowing the motion is, okay?
Right.
So can we now, somebody make the motion of what you want from this? 'Cause I think
You're
I'm-
correct. You're correct.
Thank you.
You're correct.
Okay, well, I'll give it a try. The motion is that the board approve a budget for this Greater Park Hill Fall Festival on October 9th of $850 to be reduced as the $300 in pledges that were announced today are collected. Okay,
Let's just.
does that make sense?
You're asking for it, so why don't I make that motion? Is that the board approve up to $850 in expenses with Tracy's caveat of please let's raise as much money as we can to offset this expense for the fall festival that is scheduled for October 9th.
Second.
All right, all those is there any discussion? Since we've already had the discussion. You're right, I did this backwards, my bad. Let's take a vote then. Although, we do have a quorum, don't we?
I don't know. Am I supposed to be in charge of
We
that?
have at least 3 on,
We have one, six,
or 4, Shanta.
4, 5, 6.
There's at least 4.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum, all right. Since we have a quorum, let's take a vote.
Who's recording the votes?
Somebody has to record.
So if everybody could,
All right, all those in favor, raise their hand in the room.
And it's for up to 850, I'll just clarify.
Correct.
Thanks, Tom.
No,
Sure, yes.
all right, everyone in the board room is voting in favor of this board. How about online? Those in favor in line?
Two.
See,
two.
we have Shanta, Paulette,
And
Kevin,
then
and
this did, and
Rick.
Rick is not,
So let's get her thumb up.
yeah.
I can't hear very well, but I think I heard what I think I heard, so I'm
Yeah,
saying
we
yeah.
counted you,
We
Shanta.
did count you.
Okay.
Rick,
The only one who has to take down tradition.
Rick is
yes.
Yeah.
thumbs up. All right, so.
This is Leslie. I vote yay as well.
Oh,
Hey, where'd
All
she
right.
go?
Yeah, she was.
she went home.
I'm in my garage. Don't be mad.
I think that's it.
I think that's it. All right, so how many votes?
Don't feel bad. I'm standing downtown on Market Street, so.
I was,
More online.
I was wondering, Shanta, what that background was. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'm at STK, getting ready to eat.
Yum.
15. I think it's 15. So,
There were none opposed, there was no abstention.
so it's 15.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. All right, here we go.
Motion to approve the minutes
All right.
from June, August, and is there a third month? or
No,
June and
just
August?
June.
I second.
Second, all those in favor?
And in July.
All those in favor of,
Approval of the minutes.
We're doing both at the same time?
I did make a
I'm
motion. to
I'm
approve.
abstaining. I was absent.
all right.
Yeah, I was gonna abstain from
Do we need to do them
August.
separately?
Yeah, we do need to do them separately.
Okay.
We do need, because I have to abstain and.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the June minutes.
Second.
Or-
June minutes.
I just have a caveat, June minutes, perhaps.
Okay.
Because I was at home, and I couldn't hear when someone was presenting in the room, I was like.
Okay, so,
We accept your minutes nonetheless.
Okay.
Marty, do you, Marty, yes,
June.
yes, okay, so. Sandy, you're yes, too. So everyone here is a yes in June.
I make a motion to approve the August.
Well, what about online?
Let's online. How about online? How about online?
I see
Shanta, did you approve June's minutes?
Kevin, thumbs up. I did not see, what's Shanta? Yeah,
Leslie's up. So that's. Rick's up.
Okay. Shanta, correct. You all.
Shanta and Colette have to abstain.
All right, now we go to,
I make a motion to approve the August minutes.
Second.
all right, those in favor?
I have to abstain from August.
I have to abstain.
Yeah, I've
Everyone
been
needs to
traveling. I
abstain.
have to abstain.
11.
Leslie and Rick has voted yay.
So it's 11
Shanta,
for.
abstained. Shanta and Kevin abstained.
And Sarah. And Davis. Yes.
Today.
All right, thank you, everyone. That's it, that's all I have for this.
Hey,
evening. Anything other?
One last comment. I believe today is Leslie's birthday and she's spending it in the garage on this meeting. You should all wish her a happy birthday and let her go enjoy birthday with her family.
Hey.
Happy birthday, Leslie.
Happy birthday, Leslie.
Guys, thank you.
Bye down the street and have a drink with you. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye,
Bye.
guys.